I said, do we need to keep her? She said, well, just for doing the minutes, if,
No.
Record's on.
well, I mean,
Well,
is it? Recording's on? Is recording on?
Yeah, we're on. We're
sorry.
live.
Kim's walking in now.
Hello, howdy, howdy.
Glad you could make it. Glad you could make it.
I made it. Almost late. I made it through.
That's okay. Almost is good enough.
Whew. Let me get set up. Hey, Miss Dale.
How'd you know you were recording?
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Let me get my
Said
glasses
she was
on.
getting ready to start.
Other glasses.
Here's your, I see you want it over here. Stokesdale workshop. May,
Well, when I say not a recorder, she was started on it.
Okay. Yeah, I doubt it. I didn't know if there was an indicator somewhere that I didn't see. Kim, let me know when you're set up. Let me know when you're set up.
Okay. I'm getting there. Sorry, guys. I got 1 minute.
So what's the verdict? For that cold air?
The one in here's got the least temperature drop. I checked it.
We got air problems again?
Don't feel like it.
no, I don't think so.
This is comfortable for no more people that are here.
Okay.
I think we ought to put some windows in this thing. It would go up like the old ones used to. We pull some windows up on both sides. The breeze will keep us cool.
I think there should be a tractor museum.
Just make a nice one. Let's see, I can get all my tractors in there.
That's the way it was in school. Don't you remember in school, you had 35 windows and no air, no AC?
I ain't never seen nothing to beat it. If they close go down now because it's hot.
I know.
I remember sitting there sweating. I remember having to sit beside the radiator up here at Stokesdale because it's so cold, you know, it'd be
Really?
cold. You try to get a seat near the radiator,
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'm
so you
ready.
can get burnt.
All right, let's call this to order, please.
Is Mr. Rigsby coming?
No, I'm sorry. I mentioned it earlier. Jim will not be with us tonight. If he's not in Florida, he's on his way back. But he told me last night he will not be here. Let me lead a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty.
and justice for all. Amen. Couldn't like messing up the pledge.
All messed up.
Okay. Mr. Jones, would you mind leading us in an invocation?
Be glad to, Mr. Mayor, if y'all would bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for the gift of this town, and for many citizens, and ask that you give us the wisdom to make decisions for our citizens. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We've got a very light agenda tonight. There are.
Mayor, may I
I'm
add a
sorry.
very brief
Yes,
item?
please. Certainly.
Staff's done a wonderful job of putting together our fee schedule. I would just like to share several comments about it with council. There will be no motions or anything like that. So just if we could put 5B, fee schedule discussion.
Mr. Foy, I have no objection to discussing this, but I would
Yes, sir.
remind council that this is a special call meeting, and technically, we're not supposed to add items.
You are absolutely right. That is the law, so I need to take back my.
Now, as
Just to explain that to T, Tim is exactly right. Special called meetings, they're common that they're called, but we must stay on schedule to the permitted reasons as the reasons for calling the meeting. So that would be commonplace in a regular scheduled town council meeting to add that.
What-
We got our watchdog here taking care of us.
what-
So where do we proceed? We're not
We
gonna,
proceed with the agenda.
okay, all right. So, we'll want to review and adopt the agenda. Is there any objection? Any conversation? Derek?
Derek's aye.
Jimmy?
Haven't I?
Tim?
Nobody made a motion to approve the
I'll make
agenda.
a
I'll
motion
make
to
the motion.
approve the agenda as written.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, now we start again. Derek?
I'm still aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Mike? I'm aye.
Thankful for our watchdog.
Ah, well, yes, indeed. T, you got anything you want to say? I'm just here to listen. You sure? All right. We're opening the floor to you if you want it. I appreciate that. All right. The resident's letter to GFL, or from GFL rather, regarding the solid waste and recycling service, is that, can we approve that? Does everyone have a chance to read it?
I've read it, and I'll make a motion that we approve it as written.
I'll second.
All right. Derek?
One thing,
I would like to see a date on it. GFL provide a date the letter was written, so citizens can just reference that. So that would be the only thing that I have, and, you know, in reality, I would hope they would probably do that anyway, but if not,
Friendly amendment to the motion then.
okay.
Go ahead.
the amendment is to add a date to it.
Date the letter was written.
Yes.
All right, I'll accept that.
Well, Mr. Foy, do we mark it as draft dated today's date? Just so it's identifiable?
Well, I'm not following you. I'm talking about when they're gonna send this letter to every resident and business owner in town. So they would receive this. I'm perfectly fine with the verbiage of the letter. I would just like to see a date at the top.
Okay, so we're requesting that GFL put a date, an appropriate date on this letter.
Yes, sir. We would just,
okay.
GFL emailed us last week. We said, we would like to, basically I said, look, I want to give council the opportunity to discuss as a body, instead of me just giving you the go-ahead to send this letter to every single one of our citizens. So with that, Dale or myself could follow up with Seth at the GFL and said, we discussed the letter. Looks good. Could you please just make sure you add a date to the top? And then we're good to go.
Tim,
Okay,
if you-
understood, thank you.
Okay, that's good enough. Good enough for me. All right, so we got a motion and a second.
An amendment.
Derek?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. All right. Kim, you're up. Discussion of the 22-23 annual budget.
Okay. I have got,
For a point of order,
Yes.
how does council want to see this? We've ironed out I feel like, and please somebody correct me if they feel differently. I feel like we've ironed out, what we've talked about. And, going through it line item by line item as we've done the first two meetings, is that something council still wants to see, or do you feel like we're in a good place now? I do have one significant change I'm gonna talk about, but, other than that, how would council like to see this presentation?
Personally, myself, I'll speak for myself, I don't see any reason to. I've looked at it line by line. I've seen her go over it line by line. I know you have an addition that you wanna do, so whatever that be, then, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. I mean,
But if another council member has additional questions and more detail, I do not want to rob them of that opportunity.
no,
So,
I'm speaking for myself. And Kim, I don't know, how do you feel? You feel comfortable about that? I mean, you put together a nice budget.
I feel very good with, what we have. There were some change, I sent you guys in the email the few changes that I did make. And Tim had requested for me to research and find out the contingency appropriation, and I did that. I also attached that to your oh my gosh, your budget, your projected budget,
that
and it
big?
is 5%. So definitely we're way under that amount. When I did add the 2 additional line items to the water and the general fund, I just added the contingency. Let me tell you, let's see, where was that at? Add I highlighted it. Line item on the general fund, 9,500, contingency appropriations, because we were at a surplus of $3,474.81. Just to balance the budget, I put that amount in there. The same thing with the water. I added the contingency appropriations. It was line item 17,000, and we were at a surplus of 4,994.89. I did add that in there. However, on the water, also in your email, if you guys read the email, I also added the line item 12,005 for ORC Gary Machunas for 16,000. I did not touch the contract operations. I left it where it was, which put us at a lower surplus, and that is where I moved that. I left that at the 110,000 that you guys had originally had in there.
Okay, so you're saying you left it at 110,
I did.
but pulled the 16, which has been going under that line item, and had its own individual line item.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm glad we did that.
Okay. But
Or you did,
if I
whoever
had
did.
pulled the 16 out of the 110, of course, that would have reduced the contract operations, but I just left it at 110 because I know that you guys have got maybe some things moving forward on.
Well, there's just more operations. as
I'm-
things.
I'm in agreement with Jimmy. I don't think we need to go through it line item.
Okay.
Tim, do you have any comment, any opinion on this?
Actually, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Imagine that. All right,
Give it
watchdog.
to me, Tim.
Get us.
Give it to me, Tim.
I feel like I'm at the same place I was when they changed the arrangement of the stop sign up here at the top of the road, or when they installed a stop sign on Ellisboro Road recently. You know, you get used to traveling in a certain direction using certain road signs and what have you, and then when there's a change, it's hard to adjust to. So I'm used to, for many, many years, this budget being run in a certain way with the expenses and income detailed on the monthly spreadsheets. And I think it almost handicaps me because I'm having to, in my mind, look at 2 budgets, learning the new way, quote unquote. What I think is hurting me a little bit here is we're not going back past 2 years with our budget versus actual. And I understand that that's a hurdle Ms. Thacker can't get us over. One thing that I'd like to be sure that in my mind I'm comparing the categories in this year's budget to the last 2. That being the divisions, for example, general administrative expense, which is at the moment $153,700. I want to be sure that I'm looking at a number like that and going back to 21 and 22. Well, you know, in 21 we spent $203,742, which is just 1 year, and then we spent $89,453 year to date. That's not much of that's a narrow budget history that we're looking backwards trying to forecast going forward. And so we're in a high inflationary period. The economy is not looking great. I got to tell you, the citizens I'm talking to are very concerned with their tax assessments they've received. I know I sent Councilman Landorf a chart that came out of Patty Stokes's paper just today or yesterday, wherein citizens of Stokesdale have the largest increase in the area in our property taxes. I wonder what Guilford County is doing to our citizens. And so I wore my special T-shirt, and I want to be sure that I hope to be able to vote for this budget. I generally haven't always been able to vote for them in the past. We can't go through it and worry about $50 here and $100 there, or even 1,000, but at some point, 10,000 becomes a lot of money. And so I'm certainly open to any council member that's got any kind of ideas about how to break this down into a pie chart, a bar chart, or anything else that would help us visually see where we came from so we can see where we're going. And that is a roundabout way of saying I'm mildly confused, I think, trying to get this new process in my head versus the way the town had done it for many years. And I'm troubled by not being able to go back, but basically one budget year. If anybody find a way to address that with me, I'd be glad to hear it.
I'll be happy to try to tackle it. Of course, we can go back and see the expenditures from previous years. I think the challenge that you're mentioning is that we changed, a couple years ago, we changed and reduced the number of line items that we had in the budget. And, right now, we're at roughly, I don't know, call it 30.
Yeah.
There used to be,
I got something I want to mention, but please go ahead. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you.
that's okay. There used to be a lot more. I would think that we could pull the actual spend history in the past. As far as, the general admin category, you bring up a good point. Your question was, in FY '21, we spent $203,000. This year, through 9 months, it looks like we're at $90,000 for total general admin category.
Yes, that does not include, that is through March, you're correct.
And then in this budget, we're proposing $153,000 annually in the spend. The big difference between FY '21 and FY '22, in my opinion, is going to be the amount spent on mowing this place. We were in a contract previously where we were paying a lot more money than we're paying in the current contract. And the second thing from FY '21 is the COVID money we got from the federal government. We used that for the technology in here. So that was a one-time expenditure under general admin, roughly for $40,000. I think 153 is a pretty reasonable number. This year-to-date number for general admin, town hall maintenance and repairs does come under that. And if we do spend that money that is currently in the budget to get these HVACs fixed, that's gonna be a $23,000 actual expenditure. We have discussed that we don't think that that'll be installed in the end of June 30th. So it may need to be rolled into next year's budget. I just don't think we know at this time. So it's not in next year's budget, it's in this year's budget.
The HVAC.
That's correct.
I just feel like we have so many variables involved here, it would be easy to miss one of these line items by a considerable percentage. And I'm not pointing a finger at Ms. Thacker or previous council, this council, any council meeting, a member or even, the citizenry. It just seems like we got a lot of loose ends.
It's, I think there's definitely a science to it. Kim, I think she's brought the science to this, but there is an art to it as well, right? I mean, it's you use past history, you use the current contracts and you have in place in terms of commitments to spend money, and then of course that's subject to change based off of cancel, a new vote of cancel, providing direction on a project that wasn't in consideration, or an unexpected expense that wasn't in consideration in the budget section. So, that makes it tough. When you look at the number of budget amendments we've done year to date, they're fairly low. The ones that we've had to do year to date in my opinion, there's been a special cause to them. In other words, it's not that we butchered the budget process at the beginning of the year. It's just that there's, I don't want to use the word anomaly because that implies that it's extremely rare. But there is a special cause that pointed back to why we have to do a budget amendment. So, if we want to hash this out further, I could really talk about it, till the cows come home. I think the fact we look at it monthly as a council, as part of our, what we do, they're presented, the budget actual is presented monthly. I have full faith now that that's accurate. That's not always something that I've taken for granted. And, if we see that we're 2 months into the year and good, we're like, good Lord, we've just spent 80,000 or 80% on this line item. What's going on here? It may be a special one-time expense that hit at the front of the year, or it could be that we just missed the boat by a country mile on budgeting, and we need to know the whys no matter what. But, I've looked at this budget. I'm familiar with the process that we've had in place, similar to what we've done what we did last year was similar to, or this year was similar to what we did the year before, or last year. The year before that was, that was quite a process. Last year I felt went smooth. This year I think has gone smooth. Best I can tell, it's a good budget. It's doing everything within the projected money that we'll receive. We're not pulling out of savings. But I don't know. I'm afraid I didn't answer your question, Tim. I do feel that there's a good budget here as presented in place.
I accept your comments as being sensible, Mr. Foy. I'm looking at it, I've looked at it several times, and I don't see any big, huge variables across the 2 years and 9 months that are unaccounted for. Again, I think what's making me nervous is just a short budget history going backwards we're looking at. And one more comment, this revamping the town's financial procedures and budget and accounting system happened in the middle of a budget year without any vote of council. I was there.
Well, we got that dumped in our lap, so
Yeah.
we did the best we could to have it fixed.
I'm just
Mine.
pointing that out as a wrinkle, possible complication.
Right. That FY19 was a very difficult year financially in terms of just keeping up with.
It was a mess. I mean, I will not lie, it was a mess.
Yeah.
We
And the
all-
local government commission noticed it too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was a mess, it was awful.
we hired an accountant to rectify that.
And it took a while.
I think we made the moves we needed to make. And last year, we ended up doing pretty good. We went line by line with this stuff.
All right, well,
The information we've had, I don't know what else,
And Mr. Rouse has seemed to be pleased with the changes that council made as far as, he seemed to be,
Well.
said because the line items there were not so many there, and they were just not all over the place as they were in the past or whatever, so.
yeah.
But I do understand what Mr. Jones is saying.
Well,
Right.
I was just wanted to cover this with council. The one place I think that we're trying to put some more money is for engineering consulting. Hopefully, every council member is aware of this. Feel like we're gonna need that we have purposely tried to throw some money at that. I'm also looking at the total repairs and maintenance in our water enterprise fund. We're proposing a budget of $51,250. when our actual previously was 10,740.
So,
That's,
So-
that's one of those significant changes that I look at and look for an explanation. Are we
so let's,
throwing too much money at that, or are we have expenditures that weren't picked up in the 21 budget year that should be there?
in my opinion, I don't think we are, because these expenditures came from the actual audit. With that being said, you know, we talked about a contingency line item. For the past 2 years, I do remember that, you know, this line item's had $35,000 for general repair. You know, unfortunately, there hasn't been, large hitters to that specific line item. I think it's good to have, you know, some type of maintenance and repair, or especially repair in the budget. But, we haven't had anything that has been costly to come in and repair. You know, I think we did have an incident on Hall River Road near Nugent Road, where a contractor failed to do 811, and they busted a line, and, you know, they were, of course, responsible for that repair.
That, setting aside some major catastrophe, that $35,000 seems like enough, you know. Usually when somebody drills into the line, planting a light pole or something, it tends to be, from what I can recall, more like a $5,000 event than a $50,000 event.
Right.
So I feel like the 35 is good a guess as any.
A question to you, and you bring up a, you know, a good point. For engineering, you know, 15,000, you know, I'm not comfortable with that number. We spoke last time about, you know, increasing that figure, to ensure that a licensed engineer is looking at any plan review sites is included in that. Also to be available for, you know, consulting. I think it would be, I don't think it would move that would, it would be a move that would negatively impact us if we moved, you know, call it $20,000 from the general repair line to the engineering line. In other words, I don't see a downside to doing it, I only see upside.
20 from 35, leaving 15,
Leaving 15.
then the 15 being, let me read that again, I just turned away from it. Being for repairs, that line item reads, water line, meter installation, general repair. Is that includes our everyday meter installation for new construction? Does that,
Let me get to,
In my opinion, and Kim,
I'm going,
water line installation for new construction, Yates would do that, or water meter for new constructions, Yates would do that. Therefore, isn't it captured under contract operations?
yes, sir. Everything to do with Yates, we have been capturing under contract operations.
it says water line / meter installation / general repair. So do we need to change the verbiage a little bit, or help me unconfuse myself?
Yeah, I think if we changed it to general repair, it would more accurately capture what we're doing, because right now, right or wrong, new meter installation is going under contract operations because it's all part of the same invoice we get from Yates.
You know, we have, if you want to call it that, our new construction business, new meter installations. We have maintenance costs. We possibly have improvements, capital improvements, and then we have general repairs. All those things, in my mind, are all different things that I could define
Absolutely.
to my satisfaction.
Well, especially capital improvements and maintenance and repairs, those are just two extremely very different things. And they would,
Well, the intent of this line item is for a repair, a bursted water main, an act of God, an accident, you know, somebody running over a fire hydrant in an auto accident, that kind of thing. That's what we're talking about, right?
That's how it's been perceived in the last 2 years. My guess is the verbiage of this water line hasn't changed in a long time, or the verbiage of this line in the budget hasn't changed in a long time. But the application in the last 2 years and 4 months has been that.
Well, it's well that Ms. Thacker's here because she has the opportunity to speak up and tell me no, that line item doesn't include meter installations. They're being covered somewhere else.
That is being covered under the meter installation, hold on, well,
Contract operations?
yes, yes.
Okay, well, we need for you to help us be consistent.
Okay.
15,000, take 20 from the 35.
That's my suggestion.
The town just spent 84.4 with Hazen and Sawyer. I
84.4
think
was,
that some questions are gonna arise in connection with that study, but Lord, I'm hoping it won't take another $84,000 to answer them.
well, I agree. I'm not even looking at big studies. I'm looking at incorporating a licensed engineer as part of more of our application and operation.
Yeah, I don't, I'm trying to recall if a town's ever engaged in a small consulting contract with an engineer. Most of what's been done in the past was kind of solving a problem that was right in front of us, not doing a study, basically. Feel confident in saying that $84,400 expenditure was a watermark for the town, laying out that much money for an engineering study. Reviewing, it's just hard for me to put a number on that, not knowing where we may find ourselves, but I don't have a better guess than $20,000, Mr. Foy.
Well, I mean, again, I don't think there's any downside.
That would be a fourth of the $84,000, and that seems reasonable for follow-on. It'd be about what the town is paying for engineering work on Ellisboro Road currently, correct?
We're paying $18,000 for that, so yeah, it'd be a little.
But I think there was something like 3,000 involved in that and some surveying work, wasn't there?
2,500, I believe. So up to
Okay, so
18.
that's 20,500.
Yes, sir.
So it's not cheap.
No. The cost of properly doing business, though.
$20,000 then, because I don't have
Okay.
an argument that it should be 25, and I don't have an argument it should be 15. Maybe
Well,
Mr. Landerfer or Mr. Crawford does, I don't know.
I mean, I can't honestly say there was much of a science or thought process in getting to 20. It was a 20.
Scientific wild ass guess.
Well, if we look at what, there again, the history, we had a big study done, $84,000. We're having a little dab of engineering work is $20,000, so it's not a stretch to believe if we do some consulting that we could run up a $20,000 bill.
I think we cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't think we can anticipate it at this point.
Well, that's true. Unfortunately, the state puts this burden on us of having to have a budget and
Understand?
attempting not to deviate from it,
Understand?
which, aren't they somebody to tell us how to manage money?
They didn't have a budget for 2 years, in case you're not aware, Mr. Jones, but
Ain't that
went
all
2 years without one. I guess this past year, they finally passed one.
When was that? Oh, never mind.
Yeah. But, Any-
Do we need a motion and a vote here to
We can
make
do,
this change?
we can do that. I'll make a motion that we decrease the water line general repair from $35,000 to $15,000, and increase our engineering and infrastructure consulting from $15,000 to $35,000.
Okay, excuse me. So you're gonna increase line item 13,008. You're gonna decrease that to 20,000, correct?
Decrease it to 15.
Oh, to 15, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And then line item 12003, that 15 becomes 35.
Now what happens if we don't do any engineering and we have some water lines break? We'll have to
Well-
do a budget amendment, move it back.
We would have to do a budget amendment because the funds go to a different category. If it stayed in the category, same
We'd have to do a
category.
budget amendment if we'd have done the engineering instead of the water line repair, so it could be
Well,
either way.
It's a guessing game.
Well, that's
I-
right,
It-
but
it's-
the
it-
mechanism
From a
is there
total
for us to do
expenditure
it either way.
standpoint, it's not missing the boat there. It's just, moving the category. But
Okay, Mr. Foy, help me here. We took 20,000 from the 35, thus leaving 15.
Yes, sir.
In line 13008. And then we moved that 20 to line 12003, which already had 15. So
Yes, sir.
that makes that 35, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to change the name of the line?
Yes.
Line item 13008 to general repair?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna make a motion that we change the name of line item 13008 to water general repair.
I'll second.
Okay, hold on, we got two
But
motions,
we
let's
can't have
combine
two-
them.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
my
combine
bad.
them.
Can you restate?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm gonna restate the first motion, which is to reduce line item 13008 from 35,000 to 15,000. And to increase line item 12003 from 15,000 to 35,000, thus remaining in balance.
Yes.
and change the name.
I can include that as, yeah, not a separate motion.
Yeah.
In addition, I would like to change the name of line item 13008 to water general repair.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Derek?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I am aye. Okay, folks, we are just about down to it.
Well, buckle up.
All right, what
Okay,
you got?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to make
You're
the
fine.
changes as we go. So I make sure I'm, okay,
Done.
go ahead.
I'd like to talk about the general fund. I'm gonna ask Ms. Thacker a question before we start out.
Okay.
I did give her a heads up that I'd be asking her this, so
I got it
right before the meeting, so I wouldn't be blindsiding her. But Kim, the funds we received from the American Rescue Plan, those are monies distributed from the federal government. How much did we receive in July of 2021? The exact figure?
$362,737.50.
362.7.
37 decimal 50.
Okay, so that's $362,737.50 received in July of 2021. In July of 22, as part of the American Rescue Plan, we are going to receive an increment of that same exact amount. So multiply that by 2. And that's going to be the total funds that the town of Stokesdale will receive from the American Rescue Plan. Kim, do you know if we need to fill out any paperwork to get that second payment?
It's done.
Or, okay,
I've already taken care of everything.
that total comes to $725,475.
Correct.
Okay. The American Rescue Plan, when put in place, had very specific usage, permitted usages when first put in place in the beginning of 2021. Those usages relied on, really were sewer, water, and broadband infrastructure. The permitted usages probably in late '21 or January of 2022 were changed by the federal government because the challenge that small towns were having is they didn't have a sewer system, they didn't have a water system, broadband wasn't on the radar. So, they had this chunk of money and yet with, really no reasonable way to spend it. With that, the permitted uses were changed to include items such as park improvements. Kim, help me, because I do believe I'm saying that correctly, but
Yes.
park improvements is, it's a permitted use now for American Rescue Plan money. I don't think it'll come as a surprise that I, as one council member, would like to use that money to make capital investment in Stokesdale Town Park. The hows to, what's, and what, all that would be a discussion by council later throughout the fiscal year. What I would personally like to see as one council member is this money be applied to the general fund and capital improvements for Town Park. The decision of what we will do, of course, will come to council at a later time. At a minimum, we need to show this $362,000 deposit we're gonna get in July. At a minimum, we need to show that in the budget. We should show it in the budget.
Could I impose upon you to restate that number we're receiving from the American Rescue Plan, so I got it in today's notes?
362, 377.50.
Do you want the whole amount, Mr. Jones? The whole figure?
Every nickel.
$725,475.
And
We have received exactly half of that, $362,737.50.
737.
so permitted uses with that money, of course, the water system, we've got a water system. I couldn't in good faith, suggest that we use 100% of this money for the park if we did not have that $1.14 million available to us to encumber by June of '23, and that is specifically for the water system. We've got a lot of citizens in this town that are not on the water system, and I think the park improvements we can make can be of a benefit to citizens from age 2 to 100. So, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody when I speak to the park and, call it close to my heart and that I'd love to do something with this money. It is a rare opportunity to have this much money that has to be spent or sent back to the government.
No.
In other words, we can't just keep it in the bank as a fund balance. The deadline, Mr. Jones and Mike and Jimmy, to encumber the American Rescue Plan money is December 31st of 2024. And it must be spent by December 31st of 2026.
That is correct.
What was that first date, sir?
12/31/24 for encumbrance.
24?
Yes.
24.
24?
24.
That's out there a ways.
It's out there ways, but call me eager, but I'm ready to, I think our citizens are, and personally, I'm ready to see some significant improvements in the park.
Now, if we put this in the budget, that don't necessarily mean we have to spend it.
No, sir, absolutely not, and that's a great point. I like having it in the budget up front. One, it somewhat lets folks know of our intent, but, you know, to do a budget amendment mid-year for that much, I don't like that as practice.
Let's do it for instance.
Okay.
Let's say we put this money in the budget for the park, and we come up with something where we have to, I know we got 1.1 million for the water. Let's say we come up with something that needs 1.7 million. I mean, something, something big. We could, if we hadn't done something with that money, we could do a budget amendment and put it to the water system if need be. If something came up as an emergency.
Well, no, I don't know. The answer is I don't know, because you added a word at the end. If something came up as an emergency.
Well,
I'm not sure if this money could be used for an emergency with the water system. It can be used to improve a water system, a capital investment into a water system. But I would say, and I could be dead wrong, that it could not be used in an emergency. That would come from our fund balance.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Or if we come up with some items that we needed, we didn't, if we didn't have the money. Otherwise,
Right.
there would, we're putting it in there and looking forward to that, but if something happened, but, before we spend it, of course, we're spending our grandkids and kids' money. They're gonna be paying tax on, they printed this up for us. I kinda, I'm glad we got it, but then again, we got it, so, and we gotta spend it or we give it back and somebody else will spend it. So I have a hard time with it because of it, but, it's just one of those deals. We do, do we wanna give it to another town?
I don't.
No, Mike might, I don't.
And maybe it's not the whole lump of sum of money, but I will, maybe it's 400,000, but.
We're not voting to spend it, is what I'm saying. We're not, if we do this, we're not voting to spend this money.
Absolutely not. We shouldn't spend a dime of this money until the council votes on if there's 3 votes on how to spend it, then it becomes a proper expenditure.
Right.
This is to get it into the budget.
So we can, if we have something.
Right.
Derek's right, it ought to show up in this year's budget, because we can anticipate the money coming in.
And it's gotta be spent.
It
If it
will.
didn't have to be spent, I wouldn't say,
Next year's budget. Mr. Foy, I appreciate your enthusiasm for the park. Every time I go through down there, I'm excited to see kids running and playing, because I move sort of slow myself these days. With that said, I think our highest priority is our water system. That's the one critical service the town of Stokesdale provides to our citizens. It has to be attended to, has all kinds of ramifications to it. I don't think we have some options. I don't think we have a solid plan for our next few years with it at the moment. And I would just hesitate to possibly shortchange our water system if there's some need that we have there. The ones that I'm thinking about are the water system. We got the original grant for the town of Stokesdale to cover contaminated areas, and yet we have citizens still using groundwater in those contaminated areas. It's like the town has completely forgotten the purpose of our water system in the first place, which seems a little nutty to me. Second to that, I'm not so sure that we don't need a stir or a aeration system in our elevated tank there, about $250,000. And then anything that we might possibly do to encourage people to fill in the center of our water system might be helpful. And I don't have a plan for how to do that. We may or may not need another connection from another direction, but if we don't have that one, we may certainly need a boost pump arrangement and some additional controls for our water system. So I think I'm fine with the idea of spending money on the park. My hiccup here is if we got, if somebody gave us $10 million, we can find a way to spend it, I guess, or at least some people in this town could. But I'd like for us to have some kind of loose goal of, we want to build a gym, we want to put in a municipal swimming pool, whatever we're going to do with the money, instead of just setting money aside for no clear purpose. In a way, I'm just like Mr. Landorf here. We're spending our children's inheritance, I fear. So do you think between now and a later date, we can develop some sort of loose goal for the money in the park? I mean, this whole complex is, what, 23 acres?
Yeah, and, you
It's
know,
only so much improving we only have so much open space left. Of course,
Well,
we have the new purchase up here too.
We also have acreage that can be purchased,
We got more acreage that can be purchased.
yes.
Or donated,
Do what?
or donated.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, it could be.
is there something in the works I'm not aware of here?
No, John Flynn approached, I have to recuse myself to a great degree, but John Flynn approached my homeowners association about the purchase of what is
20 acres of HOA open space.
it was extra land. It's
Oh,
over.
whoa, wait a minute, guys. Now, Mr. Medlin's not here, but that open space was set aside specifically as the condition of the rezoning for the applicant when that property was rezoned. How are you gonna turn around and sell it to the town?
I could sit down with you and look at the ordinance for PDR
Yeah,
and point
well-
to you and say, oh, there's your loophole.
Well, I just reserve the right to request a legal interpretation from Mr.
Absolutely.
Medlin here.
Absolutely.
I mean,
just saying-
like selling the same parcel twice.
We're not talking about buying new land tonight. You know,
No,
anytime. I mean, it
I'm
could be
just
done.
saying.
Well,
as a-
apparently we are.
No,
Looking down the road, I mean, it's available. You're landlocked.
yeah.
Donating and buying is two different things.
Well,
All right, okay.
Buying is a whole different thing.
This sounds like just a kind of a hallway conversation that occurred. Is that a safe way to,
Yes.
okay, thank you,
Yes.
sir. There's no paperwork or anything. All right, I've rendered my opinion.
Did I hear you say you were wanting to, maybe a gym?
I'm saying if
pool.
we spend the citizens' money,
Pool.
if we spend the citizens' money, I dang well want to have something to show for it.
I'm with you, brother.
What percentage of our population is on the water system?
I don't know, just call it 700 times 3. Then that's 2,100, divide that by 6,000, so 30.
You got almost 30%.
Anybody remember how many households we have?
Thousands, something,
Just so happens I have Patty Stokes's
10,000.
Northwest Finder right here in front of
If
me.
you
I'll
do-
be
if-
looking for
If
it.
this was done, we haven't spent a dime. It's just there, it's available. And, okay, if we didn't do it and we decided to, then we'd have to do a budget amendment and go back, which doesn't really look that good to do that.
Well,
Yeah, just,
for this amount, in my opinion, it should be in the budget. The money's there. No, it doesn't need to be spent by July or June 30th of 2023, but,
I just has been my experience, once this town starts down a path, it's hard to do a course correction. I'll give you an example, Coke machine. Here we are.
Yeah, I know, we spent about $150 the other night talking about it with the attorney sitting there.
Well, I mean,
More than we spent in the light bill for the year.
If we can agree to have that Coke machine removed tonight, I can assure you it will be removed next week.
We can't do it tonight.
not on the agenda, I just use that as an example of, just careful the path we take our 6,600 citizens down is all I'm saying.
Well, we own the water system and we own the park. So,
I don't think anybody can dispute that, that water system is the top, I mean, the trouble we could get in for not taking the right measures, or the impact it could have on people's lives for not taking the right measures. I should say that better. But there is some trouble we could get in if we don't, and Tim knows that, you know.
We, if I may, Mr. Mayor, if I may back up and respond to Mr. Lander's question. I'm reading from Patty Stokes's Northwest Finder that is dated 2022. In it on page 18, it states we have 1,837 households in the town of Stokesdale.
Right.
I would say then we have probably 650 residential customers, the rest being commercial.
So that's about a third.
Well, that gives us a ballpark number there. And that number is going to go up rather than go down. I think that's a safe statement, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't disagree that the water system is probably the most important thing. I mean, we're supposed to protect people's rights. That's one, reason for government, but the water system, as far as what we're doing, is a very, very, very important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the town, we growed the water system, and the developers have grown the water system, we growed into it. And, I'm not sure, if we take too many more leaps, just for the added customers that you're gonna have, you're gonna end up with, needing another line, and, you know, if you start running those numbers, I just don't know.
The data doesn't, the engineering study doesn't necessarily reflect that exactly.
Well,
You know,
you only pump so much water.
Well,
We only got so much water. I mean, we haven't got an agreement for over 300,000 gallons right now.
well, Mr. Land, if I can show you in the study where I just think that there's some confusion about that.
So you're saying you wanna run some more water lines? That you want us to pay for running water lines to any developments now?
No, I didn't say that. My point is the town has a water system that was paid for by tax money from the state. And the point of that grant was to take care of contaminated groundwater areas. And the town has, quick as we got the money, has kind of looked past that problem. And I'm not so sure that I wouldn't vote to, once we can determine where those contaminated areas are, to provide those citizens with a discounted tap, a free tap, a tap that we would finance. I don't know, but I don't like the idea of any family in this town having kids possibly consuming groundwater that may be questionable. And so I think it's incumbent upon us that's why we're elected to tend to this, and I think it's a question we need to address. I've tried to with the previous council and didn't get too far.
How many families have we got?
yes, but say I could be open to it, and to use one of Tim's lines that I love to hear him say, to think that we ran water system to address water contamination. We got a new water system, a grant for that, to address water contamination. And we ran water lines to those affected properties, and that a property owner would not have tied into the system at that time when there's known contamination. I think that's nutty.
There are those that would fall into that category. There are others that I think are even unaware, some of these houses have changed hands once, twice, maybe even 3 times since that time period. And so, in some ways, it's a matter of saving people from themselves, but I think we would, to completely and utterly ignore this, I think we would be doing our citizens a disservice.
Well, I agree.
What do we ignore?
I don't want to get into an Aaron Brockovich situation here.
I mean, I've not seen or heard of this, that we've got any problems. There's been any complaints? I mean, I don't know of any. Do we have a list of complaints about the water
Oh, no.
or contamination? Somebody,
First I've heard of it, I have no idea.
We're not gonna be able to force people to do it if they don't wanna do it.
No, I mean, I'm just wondering if there's a problem, I wanna know about it. I haven't heard about it. I know there's been contamination in town, and that's what, I mean, I know we had at one time come up that somebody on the corner was wanting to give a free, us to pay for, them hooking up for the water. That they were more than capable of paying for hooking up their water for themselves. What was the association that was wanting us to do that?
It was the DEQ's request. The property owner didn't even realize the DEQ was requesting us to pay that water tap. And we rightfully said, no, thank you.
Yeah, that's the only one I
DEQ,
know
you've
of.
got a huge slush fund, a trust fund for these type of things.
I would respond to that before we get too far off on a tangent in a budget meeting, and understandably so. The last motion that I made concerning this was a motion to have the town staff have a conversation with the Guilford County Health Department and North Carolina DEQ and pursue any and all updated information about all groundwater contamination in the town of Stokesdale that those higher governmental authorities might be aware of, so that we in turn could review it and possibly provide it to our citizens. The staff never, that was a unanimous vote, but the staff was unable or never did take any action on that. And that's where I stopped as an individual council member. Now, you know, there may have been a.
Which staff are you talking about? I mean, what year?
I would vote for that. To be clear, and you know, Dale and T and Kim probably are hearing about some things for the first time today.
Yeah,
And this
well,
probably,
for-
we have a map on this wall back here of labeled contamination areas. So this is something that has been,
That's old as Methuselah.
Well, let's just make
it's
sure.
old as
that-
Methuselah, but it's for the, just clarification, this is something that has been well communicated by the town at a previous time, meaning in a different era. Because a lot of the people that live here now may not know the ins and outs of even why we got a water system. Or how, the whys and hows.
I've been asked a question, what I was concerned about and what I was doing about it, and I'm responding.
Well, just
The-
make sure,
the-
just make sure that you.
The exact date this vote was taken, I cannot recall, but it would have been, I'm guessing,
Probably 2018 or 19.
more like 2018, somewhere along in there. I
The only
would have
person
to-
that, when that vote was taken was you, is here. I mean, that's
Well,
all
well,
I'm wanting to say when you say staff. I mean, it
well,
sounds like
Well, I understand.
asked her to do it and she's
well,
not been asked.
Otherwise, Mr. Landorf, I'd have to name names of the staff members that failed to do that, and the way that we operate under state law, now I would be talking about a personnel matter in a public meeting, and as you know, I can't do
I
that.
just don't want the citizens to think that our staff is not being competent.
Well, I think that's a good point, but the fact is, the motion passed and there was no further action taken on it.
Do you think it could have been a situation where an agreement was made outside of this meeting, you know, through someone, like, no, directing staff that they don't have to do that?
For me to answer that, it'd be pure speculation, you know, we need to operate.
Trying to get into the
when-
whys that wasn't done.
Well, the way we need to operate is we hold our public meetings, we set an agenda, we approve the agenda, we have debate, motions are made. When those motions are passed by council, that is the directive to staff, period. There's no need for further communication, and that, you know, that just doesn't make sense. So I can't respond to that. I just don't, I don't know. I'm only one council member, but I'm just telling you, in response to this question, that is what I've done in the past. And my concern about the groundwater remains. You know, I'm not laying awake at night worrying about it, but it just, I think the town has been a little remiss in the way we have handled this as a town. Not my fault, not Mr. Foy's fault, or not Mayor Randy Jones's fault, but I just think we've been a little lackadaisical in dealing with it. And so this is an item we need to get on a regular town council meeting agenda and perhaps vote again, or whatever council's pleasure might be, but I don't want to take too much time here.
So were you saying that we should take, I mean, this money has to be spent by December 31st? Is that actually be spent or is encumbered?
Has to be encumbered.
Encumbered by
the
12/31/24.
December 31st, 2024.
Yeah.
So this budget year is gonna take us, the 20, let's see, what, 23?
Yes.
June 30th, 23.
June 30th, 23.
Can we not bring
So
the
can
money
we-
in? as a-
So what, are we saying that we need to put this money under the water system? To put it in, to be able to use for the water system in case we need it for this contamination? Or, I mean, if we put it, if we do either way,
We've put the $1.1 million grant in the water system right now. It's in this budget right now.
it's in the budget right now.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying as an individual council member, I'm calling council's attention to what I perceive as something we need to possibly address as a council.
No, I agree, I can agree with that.
Can we not bring the money in as a contingent fund? Is it too much?
At the,
Oh, Lord.
it's too
5%?
much. Yeah,
Is it too much?
it is too much, because we can only do 5%.
If we brought it in, we would need a revenue line item.
Yeah, we
You know, that
can't
sets-
just, it has to be designated to,
And we need to do that, you know.
yeah, because, and Tim has the package, all the paperwork that I have signed. And even though I'm an employee and and council directs me, I personally can still be held liable. So I'm gonna make sure this money is spent correctly too, to make sure you know.
You don't
And
wanna
it's
go,
in that package
Right.
that Mr. Jones has.
you don't wanna go to Atlanta either, do you?
No,
I don't either.
so,
And we greatly appreciate that, Ms. Thacker. You don't know how much.
but it, but it, just come see me on Sundays, Tim. No, I'm just kidding.
So are we, I can't make a picture of it, I left
My-
my phone at home.
I took one off.
My position from a high level, because we haven't cracked this, peeled back the onion really at all. But my position from a high level is that I'd like to see the American Rescue Plan money, $725,000 invested in our park, and that we have 1.1 something million dollars to invest in the water system. I understand that we maybe peel that onion back and realize that $1.1 million is not going to, could potentially not be able to meet the things that we've discussed tonight. And I do believe that we have a duty to that water system.
Well, thank you. I think we
I mean,
are on the same page about
Yeah.
that.
So my wants versus needs, citizens' wants, needs, it's a balancing act. But dadgummit, I want to spend some of this $725,000 on this park. Me personally.
In concept, I think that's fine. I support that. I just think we kind of need a wish list to work towards.
The wish list, in my opinion, would be the citizen survey from February of 2019, where trails came in first by a country mile. Then we had basketball courts and amphitheater. Pickleball was on there, wasn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Pickleball.
You know, I've said before, the kids need somewhere to run in the woods,
Yeah.
and, you know, we got some woods, we just need to clean them up a little bit. And I don't think it'd be a big expense. Well, yeah, I tell you what, anytime you get the government involved, it can be a big expense in anything. But, you know, I'd like to see some of these things done. I don't particularly like the way these things are done. I mean, you know, you run a conservative town and they throw money at you that you have to spend, or you give it to somebody else. I mean, it's not, I don't particularly like it, I like it and I don't like it, you know.
It's good that we're not good at spending
Kinda like
money.
kinda like that clock down on Main Street. I like it and I don't like it, you know. I like it because Miss Eileen loves it so much, but other than that, you know, just whatever. Let's put it this way, if the money was sitting there and we had to have even if we had plans and we ended up needing to do something about the water system, we would have to possibly abort plans and we had to fix that water system.
Well, I think what we need here is maybe a workshop meeting with guidance from a qualified engineer to put some numbers on some of these items we think we may need. And conversely, the same thing when it comes to any possible park capital expenditures,
Right.
just some. we're backwards from the way I normally spend money. If I think I need
Well,
a vehicle or a garage, then
I tell you where
I
we're
determined
backwards,
that
the
I
town
need-
doesn't have a capital improvement plan. That's a requirement in many areas to even get a grant. A CIP plan approved by the governing board. Now, one could say we have a CIP plan for the water system that was provided by Hazen and Sawyer, but you know, it's not a 45, I mean, that was a $45 million CIP plan. I mean, that's 40, that's 90 times the water system's, that's 90 years of water system's annual revenue. We don't need that. That was a big want list. And there were a lot of assumptions that weren't correct, like, such as they weren't aware that that the developer pays the water line extension and all that.
Has council changed, at one time, this town, we were gonna run water lines through development. In other words, if the developer wanted to develop, he'd run water lines. And that's the way the system was gonna grow. And all of a sudden, it seemed like it changed. There was a couple things done. Are we off that track now? I mean, I don't wanna be off that track. I'd like to continue like we're doing. But, I mean, as a council, as a member sitting here, are we wanting to possibly start putting water lines in? And change that, I don't.
I think what you heard me say is I might want to encourage connections in areas that have known contamination. However we solve that problem is up to council. I'm just calling it to council's attention. You didn't hear me say I wanted to run water mains
I didn't say
for
you did.
developers.
I asked the
But,
question
well, hold on, and I think I can answer, and as you know, we have a chart in our development ordinance that dictates when a developer has to connect to our water system and provide for that extension it's a sliding scale based on the number of lots. And so I'm not aware of a previous vote of council or a current vote of council that has changed that. We have no lottery program for a developer to apply to get a water main extension for their project. We don't have that, so it would be, if somebody makes a motion, I guess council would make a decision at that point. Is it?
No, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
I didn't think anything had changed.
Council hasn't changed that.
And
My honest
But I
answer,
do know this, we feel like, I've been going down to the soccer games lately, and we got a concession stand, it's not working. People parked everywhere, I mean, it's, people having a good time, but, and I think some things need to be done, with the park. These people need somewhere I hate saying it, cause, I've got plenty of land, if there wasn't a park around here, it really wouldn't matter to me. I've got plenty to run around on, but, these kids on 20 hundredths of an acre and stuff like that, they need somewhere to do something. And I'd love to see them outside, doing things.
I certainly,
Families be able to get together and different things. I used to probably have a little bit different, attitude about it, but, and I wouldn't want to take the money out of our $3 million that's sitting there, but, we've got an opportunity here, so I'd like to at least look at it. I'm not gonna be here, I'm gonna be here another year or something, after that, somebody else will do it, but, I just think that we need to do something and at least start looking at it and discussing it, and be ready to be able to act if we're going to, because time's gonna get away, and, I'd rather see this free money, spent on something that's gonna be here, where it's gonna be a hard asset. It's like the property we got, a lot of people, I don't think, some people didn't like that, but we got a hard asset sitting there, and the price is going up with inflation.
probably worth $40,000
Still
more than
sitting
we
there,
paid
if
for
we
it.
just,
well, Mr. Foy, I think the most in my mindset would be a tug of war with you over half the money for the water system, but I can't, don't have a list I can point to for it, so, I certainly support spending some of that money in the park, but we need some kind of goal to, what are we building?
If we can put half in the, if we can put, what's that, 362, 737, 50 cents, get together maybe a Parks Advisory Committee of citizens, review the survey from 2 years ago. I mean, personally, I'm not gonna lie, I personally lean heavily towards trails. We don't have much land to do that, but we do have some. And I'd like to see an amphitheater. Trails and amphitheater is not gonna be even half that 725.
Well,
But then, I like basketball. I mean, there's not a outside basketball court anywhere in the northwest area.
well, what would it take to get us an open-air basketball court that was covered, sort of a semi-indoor court?
I thought you wanted a gym. Did you say that a minute ago?
I'd love a gym.
I don't know how much money we're talking about for a basketball court versus one that's inside.
I had a guy, a friend of mine lived up here on 158. He died of cancer not too long. Last time I seen him down at Parker's, we was talking about a basketball court, and we talking about maybe getting some corporate donations and things like that, just different things. And I run back and forth. There's good and there's bad about a basketball court. I grew up on one right up here where they built the school and tore it down and all, and it was really a big part of my life. And I know a lot of stuff goes on at the basketball court. I was there, I know. But it gives kids something to do, and I got a lot of good memories. I used to get so tired that I'd go home and go to sleep and wouldn't wake up the next day. We kind of like priming the back. And, it kept me off the street. And he said, man, you gotta do it. He said, you gotta do it. And I was thinking, he said, I'll donate some money to it, which he's passed away now. But I just think about that. And I know there's negative things about basketball courts. You'll hear some people say, and I can say it, and there's positive, a lot of positive comes out of it, but,
Well, we're thin on any indoor recreational space, but what I want to do is take $300,000 or $400,000 and talk some other entity, the state, into building a big facility with some more money from somewhere besides this town. That'd be an ideal, wouldn't it?
I just like to
I
do
mean, an
something
indoor
before-
facility.
I'd like to do something before my grandkids graduate college. If, since we got something. I mean, they printed this money up there in DC and give it to us. So, and the way the inflation's going, I don't see things getting any cheaper, unless everything just went bad.
I'll say this. An indoor facility, some type of indoor community center, would be fantastic. I mean, if that's kind of what we're talking about. Guilford County's got 144 of American Rescue Plan, $104 million of American Rescue Plan money as well.
Wow.
Now, we have made a formal request. We sent, Jim and I had a meeting with Justin Conrad and Skip Austin, and we did everything that they said in terms of adopting a resolution, requested money from the county. Email I got now is they want us to fill out a form. They want more paperwork. After telling us what exactly to do, they said, now we want you to do this. Well, the council has changed over, but I don't know what y'all's thoughts are about going to the county for money on this. It don't hurt to ask.
It's a good opportunity to remind them they ain't giving us our sales tax distribution money they took away from us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'm probably not their favorite person either, because I've been a vocal opponent of this school bond, and I won't back off of that. I can't. But so if I knock on their door, then I might get a pie in my face. But
We kind of got off in the weeds,
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is, we're gonna we're gonna put this money in the budget, we're gonna leave the money out of the budget, we're gonna put it in the budget for the water system, or we're just gonna leave it, you know?
Well, I'm saying if we can't decide, let's split it for the time being. But I'm flexible,
So what Tim is suggesting is we put $362,737.50, which is splitting it. We would need to put that into our revenue under the grants line item or whatever. Because we are gonna get it. That's the one thing we do know. We are gonna get that money. So you put it in the
We've already got
revenue line item and it's coming. Then we'll, for budgetary purposes, to balance out the budget, then that 362 whatever needs to go under capital outlay. to
if
balance
that's
our
the
budget.
motion, I'll second it.
So everything I just said, I'll put it into a motion form, and Tim has seconded that. So I'll make a motion, that we put $362,737.50 into the income, and label it American Rescue Plan money.
Well, I had a line item for the ARP funds, and then you said to put it under the development grant, where do you want it?
The art funds? ARP, A-R-P.
Yes, ARP, yes.
Oh,
Oh, Lord have mercy, we're gonna do arts here.
so if you wanna just, instead of call that small town development grant, which that $50,000 is right now,
Yeah,
we
I
could,
would-
we could change the name to, grant money.
Would you, now, would you object to the idea that we label it as ARP grant money, just to make it easier to track?
We need a separate line item for ARP grant money.
that's what I would like for it to be, thank you. I want it separated. Okay,
And then, so Kim, it'd be for that amount, $362,737.50.
yep, done,
Then you need to increase the park investment from 50,000
to 430, yep.
400 and, what is that, 412,000?
412,737.50, done.
So we stay in balance, and we have earmarked in a budget that the town is gonna further explore, capital investment for the park. You know, $400,000, that's significant. We haven't done that ever. It's a quite an opportunity. None of that money will be spent without a vote of cancel, not even, not a dime.
Not even a Coca-Cola out of the Coke.
I have a feeling that Coke machine's on borrowed time.
I can guarantee that one,
Okay.
money will be spent without it for you
Okay.
guys.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah, Kim's like,
not going to
there's a
prison.
special set of rules.
I'm not
with this
going to
money.
prison.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Yes, sir. Aye.
Wait a minute, we're gonna have a discussion.
Yes, please.
Who seconded that?
I did.
We also have discussion.
Well, yeah, we're gonna have a discussion.
Please.
Okay, we're splitting this money. What if we just, can we cross mingle that money? Let's just say that we decide we need the 300 and some thousand from the park for the water system, or vice versa.
Budget amendment.
Yeah,
We can do a budget amendment and move that money from the water fund to that. You sure?
yes, because that is it's its own fund.
I understand.
That is its own fund, so even though you put it there, it would have to be a budget amendment to move it out of the budget into the water, to answer your question, yes.
Kim's got to do quarterly reports.
Yeah, I have to report to them each quarter on what is done, and it has to be to the T on
So-
everything that's
So
done.
the 1.1 million that we have has to be spent by,
Encumbered by June 30th of 23. We're 13 months to
so
encumbrance.
we are, I mean,
We're on the clock, quite frankly.
so if we've got those issues, we've got that 1.1 that
That's
we've
where
got
we
to do
start.
something now, yeah, okay, all right, okay. But it can be moved in or out, so,
Yeah, I foresee a point in time in the next couple months where, I think Tim may have even said this. If If you did, I'm saying it again. If you didn't, I'm saying that we probably should have some type of water work session. Tim did say it because he said with some engineers, present.
Tim did say that.
All right, well, then I'm just gonna, once again, say Tim's right.
Careful, careful, careful.
But yeah, we're on the clock, with that 1.1.
Any further discussion? Derek's voted aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Hi.
And I am aye.
Okay.
We are down to citizen comments. Do we have any comments from the floor?
Well, if you would, hold on a
Yes, sir.
second,
What
Mr.
else?
Mayor. This is pertaining to us writing the budget, so I don't think I'm going off the agenda, but somebody stop me if you think that I am. Let me find it right. In regards to the draft finance officer's budget message,
All right.
Perfectly pertainable, and I'm glad you mentioned something.
there was just a couple of things that I'd like to throw at council to consider, and the budget officer by extension thereof. In my mind, the town of Stokesdale is a limited services government. I kind of hate comparing us to Summerfield and Oak Ridge sometimes, but I'll do it anyway here. Both Summerfield and Oak Ridge state in writing on their website, maybe even in the budget message, that they're a limited services government. I would like for council to consider us putting that into the budget message with, what I'm thinking about is somebody that moves here from Florida, California, Alaska for that matter, and they're trying to get a feel for what goes on in the town of Stokesdale. And I think that might be helpful and beneficial for all parties concerned. So that's one. The other thing I'd like for council to consider is identifying us as a council mayor, North Carolina General Statute, council of mayor form of government and not a manager council form of government. I think that's a very important distinction that it took me quite a period of time to get used to it as a citizen, as a committee member, as a council member. I finally got it, but I think it's confusing for our citizenry, that don't deal with this as frequently as we do. So that's kind of number two. Number three, we have done this in the past. I think I could lay my hands on it. I'd like for this budget message to state that the town of Stokesdale provides supplemental firefighting water for the Stokesdale Fire Department and surrounding departments, or something of that nature. I know at one time we had that in the budget message. It's a little convoluted because our water system is not specifically designed for firefighting. So by extension of that, it provides supplemental water. The fire chief and the deputy fire chief, they certainly understand this, maybe less so with other folks. And then the fourth point I'd like council to consider is having this budget message make a statement that the town of Stokesdale has not received sales tax distribution money since, and go back and put that year date in this budget message. That is an important thing for everybody to consider. It is in part a political issue, and I think if our citizens knew what we knew, that we would have a greater opportunity for them to interface with their Guilford County commissioners, and maybe at least get them to every once in a while talk about changing that back. It would certainly be of big benefit to the town of Stokesdale, and I think it makes more sense for every town and city in Guilford County. I just can't get the county commissioners to agree with me at the moment. So those are the 4 points that I wanted to make and throw out there, Joe. Thank you.
Absent a motion, I agree with everything Tim said. Building on what Tim said, I think it was about a year ago, I typed up a resolution, never presented it to council, but a resolution declaring the town of Stokesdale a limited services government, and it was written up in
We're gonna change the
resolution
mission
form.
statement.
I don't remember what was written, but we talked about it, and maybe that's the resolution that we passed, because to your point, in my conversations with the town of, with my conversations with employees with the town of Summerfield, they have been trained to say, as a limited services government, we are a limited, that is something that is recognized by the employees of the town. So I would have to think that at some point in time, the town of Summerfield adopted a resolution declaring the town as, if not, I don't see how you declare the town as a limited even though we are, but an official declaration or resolution.
Well, I'm certainly okay with a resolution if you think we need one. The council has complete control over what goes in this budget message, right?
And I'm perfectly fine with everything you just said to be included in this budget message.
Yeah.
You just got me,
All that, Ken?
Well, yes, I took short notes.
Do you think you can put all that in there?
Yeah, we can get it in there.
we're a limited services government, and we want to state that the town's water system provides supplemental firefighting to the town's fire department and other fire departments nearby. We have not received a distribution of sales tax revenue, and we need to find that date where the county changed from per capita to ad valorem. And lastly, we need to identify ourselves as a council mayor form of government that does not operate with a town manager.
Or you could put it down as a mayor council form of government, but that, that's neither here.
Whatever it's called.
What-
I think it is called.
I would be for wording it ever how it is in the statute with respect to Mayor Crawford, but,
What do you call it, weak mayor?
no, we have a strong mayor because our mayor votes.
Oh, okay. That's all he does, though.
I'd like for it to state that we're a mayor-council form of government and not a manager-council form of government under the North Carolina general statutes. I hope everybody understands where I'm trying to go here. And in regards to the sales tax distribution, I think we need to add North Carolina sales tax distribution to that statement, if you would, Ms. Thacker. So have we completed a motion?
Second.
Yeah,
We got a motion and a second, is that it?
Who seconded?
Looks like Mr. Foy did.
Okay, did I make the motion?
It looks like you did.
Okay,
Sure did.
okay. I'm just making sure I want to know when I make a motion.
Yeah. Mr. Jones made that motion, if you would, Ms. Martin. Derek?
Yes?
Jimmy?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, did you want some
No, that's
discussion?
okay. No, that's okay.
We want to hear it.
Aye.
Jimmy doesn't know if he wants the limited services government part.
Yeah.
Tim?
Aye.
And I am aye.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Certainly.
ma'am.
To council. Dale and I actually had this conversation while we were tweaking our number, we were tweaking a few things. Do we want to list, did you ever find anything out about the ARP funds from the other towns? Listing it in the budget message?
What funds?
The
You can also
American
say
Rescue-
ARP, because
I'm
every
sorry,
time
the
I think you're saying
ARP
art, and
fund.
I get real nervous when I hear art.
ARP.
No response to
gallery.
that question. I did ask.
Would you?
Tim Jones Gallery.
Would you, council, like to have anything about the ARP fund, that we have received these ARP funds in the budget message? It does not have to be. We just kind of tossed it back and forth and,
I'm good with the idea, and I think probably we need to go ahead and write that out, American Rescue Fund. Everybody here knows what we're talking about, but so often, every,
If you're gonna put it, though,
everybody has their own
if
abbreviations.
you're gonna put in there somehow to where it lets the citizens know that we have to spend it. We're not just spending money because
I'm
we gotta
on-
spend it.
I'm gonna let them know
I mean,
Tim
be-
Jones
because
wants a
we wanna spend it,
gymnasium.
We have to spend this money or we're gonna lose it.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
I want to know that.
That's a good point.
We're spending, we're not blowing the budget up and spending a lot of money. We're
well,
gonna be
I can
taxing
put
everybody.
exactly what it states, that it has to be encumbered by December 31st, 2024, and has to be spent by the 31st of 26.
That's right.
we can put that exactly right behind it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
With that, is there something about the $1.1 million being a grant?
Yes, I do have, it's on the second page,
Okay,
it's underneath the expenditures for the water. Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
I
No,
don't
it's
see
not.
it.
I'm sorry, hold on, we did, I thought that yes, it is, I'm sorry. Under revenues, where it says the town of Stokesdale expects
you.
to receive the grant funds under the House Bill 436. So that is in there.
So, yeah, just with these additions, y'all did a great job putting that message together.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I have a question. I'm not real sure. How is it we get Jamestown and Greensboro ABC profit sharing?
Do you think they know?
I was about to say, let's not ask a bunch of questions on this and just.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm gonna be greedy. I'm gonna be greedy. I wanna know why we don't get Oak Ridge.
Formula that they use, and it's based on sales, which we don't have an ABC store.
Right.
But it's also by population.
Right. I understand how you would calculate it. What I'm wondering is, if we're getting it from Jamestown and Greensboro, why don't we get it from Oak Ridge?
If I'm not mistaken, from memory, Oak Ridge is affiliated with Kernersville, Forsyth County.
It's Forsyth County. It is Forsyth County. So, I mean, the reasoning's,
Well, I put a theory out there for you, but I can't confirm it.
to me, the reasoning, to Dale's point, stands the same. I mean, you know, if somebody's gonna use the facility, I think we should reap the benefit from, if they're doing profit sharing in Greensboro and Jamestown. Why don't we get High Point? Do we get High Point? Does anybody know?
No, well, no, that's not Jamestown.
I have noticed that before, Mr. Mayor, and
I think it's a good point.
Leave it alone.
I think it
Might
does.
end
I
up-
mean,
They might end up
I
taking
think
what we
it
got.
goes by county, Mr. Mayor. I think it just goes by the county, and High
Oak
Point's
Ridge
not.
is in the county.
Yeah,
High Point is in the county.
somebody's liable to look at us and say, well, why are they getting it? They don't have an ABC store or a
High
tax.
Point's in Guilford?
We get penalized.
High Point
when
is
we-
in Guilford County. High Point's in
We
Guilford
get
County.
penalized because we run a conservative town.
Okay,
Well, I understand that too, but if, you know, if we don't stand up for ourselves, who's going to?
Well, for one, we gotta know what we're standing up about.
Okay, well.
But
Okay,
I don't know.
y'all don't have an answer.
I don't know why we get.
I don't
Y'all
know
don't
how
have an
I would
answer
call
for me, but I'll
somebody.
pursue it.
I don't know how I would call somebody and
I'll
say,
call the ABC
how are
people.
we getting this money and why aren't we getting more of that money?
Yeah.
well, I think we should vote and assign the task to Jim Rigsby. He's our ABC,
No, he just
he-
approves
he's our
permits.
Well, make the motion.
connection.
He just
And he's
approves-
not here to defend himself.
I know, he just
Well, I'll
approves
second.
permits, but I've had an
I'm just
ABC
saying.
license for 35 years.
That's what you do. If somebody's not here, you make
Oh.
motions and vote and give them tasks.
That's how this happened to me. That's how this
Won't go
happened.
that far.
Okay, well, anyway, let's, is there any further discussion? We'll open it up for citizens' comments. Do we have any comments from the citizenry?
Did you learn anything tonight, T? Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, how about comments from our council? Mr. Foy?
No, sir. I hope everybody has a great weekend and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
thank you.
Mr. Landry?
Well, I don't wanna say a lot, but you know, we got a sales tax vote and we got a bond vote. And I don't tell people what to do, but as far as I'm concerned, a taxpayer voting for these things it's like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders.
Is that a Jimmyism?
That's going on the wall,
We
Tim.
really should preserve these.
Tim?
I too would like to, there's nobody here to really hear it, but we got two mothers in the room. And I would like to express my sincere appreciation for mothers and hope everybody has a safe Mother's Day coming up. And I'd like to thank our one citizen for sitting through this meeting. It's, I appreciate you being here. Wish we had something to offer you for your compensation.
T? It's all in here. Catch it.
Jolly Rancher.
Catch it. I'd also like to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. Just for the record, we are going to lose our deputy clerk as of Friday, the 13th of this month, which is May, and wish her the best. We will proceed to replace her and move right ahead. Thank you all. We are adjourned. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Yes?
Jump in there.
All those
We're
in favor?
adjourned.
Okay, we just asked, who made the motion?
Tim made it, Jimmy seconded it,
Can we all sit aye?
and we all said aye.
Budget message.
Jimmy, stand on that bench and see if you can reach the clock, would you? What is that, a thermometer?